Subject code 18CS2015, object oriented programming lab, experiment number 8, exception handling. In this video, we're going to see exception handling concept in Java. Uh, Here we have some basic programs to demonstrate this concept. So this is one of the programs. Uh, in Java, we have two kinds of exceptions, right? That is built-in exception, and other one is user-defined exception, right? So this is how user can define their own exception. So here we are defining our exception, that is out of range exception, which the user has defined, which is a child class of exception. This is the way how we can define our own exception. So this program is to throw an exception, I mean raise an exception when the number is lesser than 0. That means that means the negative number, for negative number, and the number that is greater than 50. So if there is any such number in the input, so we are throwing an exception saying that valid range is 10 to 50. So this is the program for that. So here this is the constructor default, I mean the parameterized constructor of this out of range exception class. So which is assigning the message it receives to this data member, message data member, and this is the method toString method which just returns that message. So here we have exception 0 class in which we have a main method in it. So after that main method, using this scanner object under this try block. So here is our try block, because this in this try block we are raising exception, right? So the statement which raises exception, that should be put under this try block. So in this try block we are asking the user to enter the number, and using scanner object we are reading that, and we are checking if the number is negative or if the number is greater than 50. Only then we are raising this exception. So here throw is a keyword, and new out of range exception is the object for this out of range exception child class, and we are passing a message that is valid range is 10 to 50. So if it is any if the input is such a way that it raises an exception, so it throws this exception, and immediately after the try block we have to handle that exception. So we are using catch blocks with exception object. So after using that object we are calling toString method, and we are printing that toString method just returns what we pass in this uh, uh, constructor, right? So what is there under message, it returns the toString method. So that's what we are printing under catch block. Now we'll check if it's working or not. Just a minute, it will take time to build the program first. It's done. For example, we'll check with -5. We can see valid range is 10 to 50. That's what we are printing under our exception. Now we'll give input in such a way that exception is not raised. For example, 20. We can see, or else if the input is in such a way that it doesn't raise exception, it just prints the else part, that is square of that number. That square of 20 is 400. So that is our first program. Now we'll see our second program. That this one, it just prints the I mean it just raises exception if there is any invalid amount, I mean negative amount, in the case of a bank application, right? In using while doing bank transactions, we enter amount only greater than 0, right? Amount should be greater than 0. If it is lesser than 0, then we will raise the exception. So the same concept here also, we have defined our own exception, that is negative exception, NEG exception. That's the child class of exception, and the same constructor we are using as like in our previous program. So that's just assigning the message to this MSG string data, and using a return function we are returning that message also. And this is another class in which we have a main method, and under try block we are checking the condition. If amount is less than 0, then we are throwing the exception. That is the object of this child class negative exception, passing the string data invalid amount. So if the input is in such a way that it raises the exception, so this if block will be executed, right? So it raises the exception, and to catch that we have a catch block here. So the user defined exception we have here, and the exception object, and using that object we are calling this return method, which just returns the message which we pass here. So invalid amount is our exception, right? I mean the data that has to be printed when the exception is raised. So that's it about this program. If the amount is negative amount while doing bank transactions, we raise negative exception, that means invalid in amount. We'll check if it's working or not. Enter amount. For example, we'll check with 500. We can see that amount deposited due to this else statement. If there is any negative amount, we are throwing invalid amount, or else we are printing amount deposited. Now we'll check for negative input. So minus 500. We can see that invalid amount has been printed because of this line, 30th line. That's it about our second program. Now we'll see the third one. So this one, which is a kind of banking application. To while using banking applications, we encounter so many errors, right? That means invalid amount, invalid ID, like that, right? So it is kind of that one. We'll check what it is. So here also we are using user-defined exception, that is insufficient funds exception. So we are going to display a message when the user tries to withdraw more amount than what he has in his account. So here we have insufficient funds exception, that is the child class of exception superclass. Now here we have a double amount, the amount which is the data member of this class, and using the constructor we are assigning the the value, amount that the user enters to this variable, amount variable, and using get amount method we are just returning that amount. And in using checking account we do all the checking process in this checking account. So we have balance and account number as variables in this class, and using the constructor we are assigning the account number using the parameters constructor. Now, since the account number has some 12 or a large number of digits, I have used long instead of int. So this public void deposit means each time we deposit any amount, this method will be invoked, and balance will be updated. The balance will be incremented by this amount, and we are after that we have a withdraw method, which is here the keyword is throws, which invokes which reminds the caller method. That means this checking amount, this checking account class is called by this main method, right? So this throws keyword uh, reminds this main method, so that the error has been reminding that error has been generated, exception has been raised. That's the purpose of this throws. Besides this function, this method throws insufficient funds exception. So this insufficient funds exception is nothing but the user defined exception which we have defined above. So if amount is less than or equal to balance, that means if amount is which the user entered is present in his account, we are reducing the balance, and we are deducting the amount, or else we have raised exception, right? So we are throwing, and we are creating an object for this, and passing the needs is the uh, amount which the user has entered, that one. So new insufficient funds exception. So after that we have get balance method, which just returns the balance. After that we have get number, that is to show the account number. Okay, account number. And in exception to class, under class we have main method, and which we are prompting user to enter account number, and enter the amount to be deposited. And after that we are printing a statement called depositing, and we are calling the deposit method. The statements which can raise exception. For example, here, yeah, we can see withdraw method is throwing exception, right? So here we can see withdraw method throws insufficient funds exception. So this using this throws keyword, we can make the caller method, that is main method, know about the exception, so that we can catch that exception using this catch block. So this under this try block, which we have the method, we are calling the withdraw method. So if it raises any exception, so it will be handled by this uh, catch block. So this is the exception we have, insufficient funds exception, and this is exception object. And in this catch block we are printing, sorry, but you are short by this object dot get amount of method. Here we have already defined, right? Yeah, here get amount. So it just returns the amount. So here amount is the uh, needs, right? We are passing the needs, right? That is the amount. Needs equal to amount minus balance, right? So the amount which the user has stored by, that one will be the needs, and we are just printing that get amount of. Now we'll check if it's working or not. Enter account number. For example, we'll say enter the amount to be deposited. For example, we will deposit 5,000, and you can see the message deposited, and enter the amount to be withdrawn. If we enter any amount that is within 5,000, that means for example 4,500, we can see withdrawing 4,500 done. Or else, now we'll run it again. For the amount 5,000 which is deposited, if we withdraw 6,000, it raises exception. We can see, sorry, but you are short by 1,000 rupees. So that's the third program. Now we'll see the fourth program, that is exception.java. So this is voting application. That means if you are minor, then we throw an exception, or else we can print a message called welcome to vote. Now we'll see how it works. The same thing as like our previous programs, we are defining our own exception, that is underage exception, which is a child class of superclass exception. So this is the constructor which calls the constructor of the superclass, that is exception, passing the string data which we pass to this constructor while creating an object for this child class. And under another exception 3 class, we have just a minute, we have main method, that is here we start from this main method. Using the scanner class, we are taking the input from the user for age. If the user enters the age as age below 18, that then we are throwing an exception saying that not valid, or else you can say age is not valid, age not valid. I mean, or else if the user's age is greater than 18, we can print a message called welcome to vote. Now the method which calls the, I mean, which may raise the error exception can be placed under this try block. So we know that the check method is doing the checking process. I mean, if it is less than 18, it raises an exception, right? So we are placing this check method and under this try block, passing the user entered age. So if it is less than 18, we are throwing an exception, underage exception, passing the string data age not valid. So that will be given to this superclass constructor of exception class, or else we'll print welcome to vote message. So after, if it raises any exception, we are handling it by using this catch block. So here is our exception, or else here we can have underage exception, and it's an exception object. Now we'll try to check if it's working or not. If I enter age as 25, you can see a message welcome to vote. Or else if I enter age as some 12, you can see age not valid, and the exception is mathematics dot this package name, and under age exception, the exception is under age exception. Age not valid is our exception. Yeah, that's it. Now we'll see our next program, that is to raise different kinds of inbuilt exceptions. So I have already told in the first program, that is in Java we have inbuilt and user defined exceptions, right? So here we are going to see some of the inbuilt exceptions in Java. So for the first error is the arithmetic error. So when we divide any integer by 0, we can see that it cannot be divided by 0, right? So it is an arithmetic exception. So here we can see system.out.println a by b, a is 5 and b is 0, so we cannot divide, and it raises an exception. So we are handling that exception using this arithmetic exception and object, and we are printing that. And after that, that is the first exception, that is arithmetic exception. Next we have array index out of bounds exception. Here we have created an array of size 4, and at the same time we are trying to subscript the array, that means access the fifth element of the array. So it will not present, right? So it just raises the exception, that is array index out of bounds exception. That's it. Next one is the null pointer exception. So str initially I have defined as null. So when we try to print the length of it, so null string doesn't have any length, so it raises the exception called null pointer exception. Next we have a number format exception. So integer dot parse int of if the input is like for example 52 or else 10, it converts this string 10 into integer 10. So that's the purpose of this parse int method. Uh, uh, Instead of that, if we give input like ABC, some alphabetic letters, it cannot convert alphabetic letters to integer, right? So then it raises exception called number format exception, and we are printing that. Now we'll check all of these exceptions one by one. we can see first one is the arithmetic exception, which we have handled using this catch block, and the array index out of bounds exception also we have handled using this catch block, null pointer exception, and the last one is number format exception. So for each exception we have corresponding try and catch block, so that the exception has been handled. That's our fifth program. We'll see our last program, that is this one, employee.java. So this is to check the check and raise exceptions whenever there is any abnormal employee name, ID, or employee age, like that. So we'll see how it works. So here also we'll be defining our own exception, that is invalid employee ID exception. So this class extends. Here we have many kinds of exceptions which the user has defined. So first one is invalid employee ID exception. This is also a child class of exception class. So invalid name exception is the next one. Invalid age exception is the next one. So after that we have an employee class in which we have our main method. So we'll start from this main method here. Okay. So here we have a standard class to read the name, age, and employee ID from employee. And after that we are passing these three data to employee constructor, employee class constructor. So employee class is here, and here we have a constructor, and these are data members which we are assigning using this constructor. After assigning the values, we are calling this check method using the object of employee class. Here we can see we are using object we call the check method. Once we call the check method, this first one we are checking employee name. The constraint is that employee name should not have any digits in it. So here we created a character array to hold the name, and using a for loop we are checking if character dot is digit of C. This C takes each character by character, right? So if there is any digit, this condition will be true, right? Then only then we are raising exception, that is new invalid name exception. Our exception should print invalid name. That's it. So this is the region where the exception can be generated, right? So this one we have put under try block. Yeah, this one we have put under try block. And so if it doesn't raise any exception, I mean this if condition is never, if it is never true, then we are printing name of the employee as name. So if the name is correct, so if it is raised, if the exception is raised, we are handling it by using this catch block. So under catch block we have passed the exception and object, and we are printing invalid name and the exception f. And after that this is a catch block, and after that we have another try block in which we are checking for the length of the ID of employee. So employee ID should be greater than 4 digits. If it is less than 4, we are raising exception. So we are using this length method to check the length of this string ID. So if it is less than 4, we are raising exception called invalid employee ID. So if not, we are printing the employee ID as ID. That's it. And if the exception is raised, we are handling that by using this corresponding catch block. That's it. Now the next exception is age, invalid age exception. So if the age is greater than 50, we have to throw exception called invalid age, or else we have to print the age of the employee. And using catch block, we have to handle this invalid age exception. That's it. Now we'll check if it's working perfectly or not. Enter your name, for example Sandy, age 25, ID 123456. So here name doesn't have any numbers, age is not greater than 50, employee ID length is greater than 4. So we did not get any exceptions. Now we'll give input in such a way that it raises exception. For example, Sandy name is Sandy 123, age is 60 greater than 50, and employee ID, if it is 123, we can see exceptions as invalid name exception, first one, and the second one is greater than age, right? Invalid age exception, sorry, invalid employee ID exception, next one we have, and the next one we have invalid age exception. So we can see that if the inputs are incorrect, we are getting exceptions as invalid name, employee ID, and invalid age. That's it. I think all these programs have been executed successfully, and the outputs for all the programs are correct. Thank you.